Well, hello everyone. How exciting to see so many people here live. I have the pleasure and great privilege of hosting the Featured Teachers webinar series for American TESOL Institute, also brought to you by Prep It Fluency. This is the Prep It Fluency Zoom room. And each month we feature a teacher that has done great work in our field in English language teaching and has inspired students and teachers alike. And for the month of December, we have Marek Tkaczyk, and he will tell you more about who he is and what he does. I just want to say that whatever the big R is, because it's a surprise, it's going to be great because this man is really creative and it's just done some amazing work in English language teaching.
You know what I found out when we started talking together? Well, it was like half a year ago.
Yeah,
and we were talking about different things, and I realized that we both have our 3 R's, because I sent a message to you, and then when you replied a few lines later, you mentioned I mentioned my 3 R's, and then you mentioned your 3 R's, and so I kind of narrowed it down today to one big R. That I think is kind of like a foundation for all the other R's that are important to me.
Marek Tkaczyk, welcome to Featured Teachers. Thank you so much for being here, and take it away, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's actually, I'm honored. And looking at the chat at the moment, having around 50 people from lots of different countries. So the big R and the subtitle here, is how to become a game changer in the classroom, and that's kind of like 2 mysteries at the beginning. So I'm going to reveal them soon. First of all, I'll quickly introduce myself. So as Jason said and pronounced my name correctly, I have to say that's not very often that I hear somebody pronouncing my name correctly. My name is Marek Tkaczyk. I live in Poland. I'm Polish, and where I work, you can see 3 things here on the list now. First of all, in Poland, where I run my language school in 2 towns with a team of amazing people, many of whom, when we met, they had nothing to do with teaching, and we started working together and working on the workshop, on the tools and so on, and they've become amazing teachers that now when I have a chance to observe them, I just have a massive smile on my face, seeing how they swim in that ocean and just cope with anything that comes up. In the UK, this is my what my other foot is, because since 2004 I spent nearly every summer in the UK working and cooperating with these 3 amazing international schools. The list of things I do with them and for them is really long, so I'm not going to even begin. These are amazing places. If you ever had anything to do with them, you know that they are places to be as for international schools and summer schools. What I basically do, I also narrow it down to a few things: teach and train, because even though I run 2 schools currently, I still teach because first of all, I'd like to be in the field. I'd like to know what's happening. I'd like to, when I talk to the teachers that I work with after the observations, or when I help them with lesson preparation, I want to know what I'm talking about, and I want to tell them things that I've actually tested and I've been into. So this helps me a lot, and I can't imagine my life without teaching. Training happens all the time. The teachers who work with me are basically in touch with me via Messenger, WhatsApp, and I get questions from them literally on a daily basis about lots of different things, and it's a perfect communication, and I really love helping them this way. Creating, this is what I do in my international projects. I'll show you now the first one. So I've shown you Speakadelic Language School. This one is Speakadelic Games That Teach, and this is where I try to create some materials that kind of fill in the niche that we have in language teaching market, because you know yourself, we've got lots of things available in the market, lots of games and materials, and I realized that many of them kind of focus on two language areas. This thing here is something I had been thinking about for years, and then a couple of years ago I started working it with a friend, and then it is all kind of never-ending project because it keeps expanding. It's literally a course book turned into games that overlaps with any course book on planet that's on the same level. So if you have a B1 level, you get a B1 set of games like that with a massive board, and you don't need anything else for your classes if you have that. So that basically supplements anything that you're using. The other thing that I started doing recently is called Good Morning Earth. That's how I named it. And initially, it was about connecting schools in Poland, because I cooperate with about 500 language schools in Poland. I created a group for them on Facebook. And I also got to know a fantastic woman, Anya, who's running face-to-face with the World Organization, helping schools and orphanages in Africa and Asia. They help them in many areas, and I decided to support the educational part of it. So basically, I'm linking, at the moment I'm working on it, and I'm linking schools and orphanages from Africa and Asia with schools in Europe, so that they can share their online classes, teachers in schools in Poland and in Europe, at the moment also worldwide, because we've got Vietnam and a few other countries that joined recently. So those schools meet online, have shared classes online. Children at the other end in Africa and Asia, they get something they would never be able to afford, like good, solid education, not only in languages, because we also have dance teachers, music teachers, and so on, and they try to teach online, and they try to also organize meetings where groups from Poland and other countries meet with groups from Africa and have those online lessons together. So I encourage you to have a look at it, try it. You can join the project just for one meeting, just for one lesson. You can do it from time to time. You can do it regularly, up to you. It's a fantastic idea, and the kids in our countries, in our lessons, they have an unusual opportunity to have that cross-cultural experience. And at the other end, I said there's a lot of help that we give them. Now we go into quickly through my inspirations. There are lots of books. It's like we're all teachers, so you know that you probably at least once a month there is a book you order or you pick up somewhere. It's okay, I'll read it, and it's like a new theory and stuff. But I'll narrow it down to two things, because today I'm trying to tell you quite a lot, but just to pick those things that I think will be quite useful for everybody at any level. First of all is Learning Teaching by Jim Scrivener, and that's why I put that thing here at the top, teaching equals learning, because this is something that we don't really think about too much, and we should be. And it's explained at the beginning of Jim's book, where whatever we do in class, we should be thinking about the other side. What actually are they learning at this moment? Because when you walk into any language class, any class, and you see teachers talking about something, as I say, transmitting the knowledge to the students, it seems like learning is happening there, but very often it's not. So this is something that I really pay attention to, and try always to underline it whenever we are talking with teachers I work with about doing different things in class. I always say, okay, what's the learning in it? What do they learn? They do this, they do that, but do they actually learn anything? The second book is unfortunately in Polish, but I bet you've got something like that. You'll be able to find something like that in English or in any other country. It's not a book about any theory. It's a book that is full of experiments that were done worldwide at different universities who were testing our brain, the memory, how it works, and what we should do to make it work. It's called Break Into Your Brain, and I came across it recently. And when I started reading it, I realized oh my gosh, that's actually a very good idea. It's not like a big theory book. It's a book where the author, Radek Kotarski, he collected all of those experiments together. He probably spent quite a lot of time in the library collecting that knowledge. It's all in one book, and you can read those experiments and how some common myths just disappear. The myths we believe in as for learning and studying languages and so on. So these two books kind of summarize and say the most of the things. However, we should keep reading all the time, and I encourage you to read every single book somebody mentions that's worth reading, because they really help us a lot. Field experience. This is something that is very important for me, and I think every single teacher on the planet should do these two things in order to be a good teacher. And we should never stop doing those things. One is observations. So peer observations. I mean, I'd like going to classes that other people run, sit at the back and watch the whole thing from a fly on the wall angle, and see what's happening there, how students react, what the teacher does. Very often you will simply steal some simple ideas, and they'll make your lessons more attractive. Very often you will understand how some things work in class where you don't have a chance to understand it, because when we are there, the same for me, when I'm in class, when I'm teaching, I'm not aware 100% how it's perceived by the students, how much they take from it. So obviously we should keep working on that, but the only chance to see how it works and to realize what it takes to be a good teacher is observation. So I encourage you to do those. Second one is learning from scratch. So picking a language, for example. If you're a language teacher, pick a language that you're unfamiliar with, like you completely know nothing about it. That was Italian for me. And when I started learning Italian from scratch, I started experimenting on myself. I didn't really have the aim to speak Italian in 1 year or something. No, I was actually doing different things. I, for example, had a list of words that 2-3 lists of words actually, and I tried to learn those words in different ways. And then I realized how important the big R is. I'm not going to read these. I'll just show you the parts step by step. Then using course books, what's my approach to it, and how we can look at it from a different angle. Try to have a look at it in a more creative way. And then the next part will be about the game before the game, which is how to make the games actually work, what to do before and during the game, so that they do their job and they help students learn, not entertain them. That's something that is also important, but entertainment is a secondary thing. The fact of learning is very important. And finally, the art of game changing. I'm going to tell you on different levels how to do game changing in class. So the big R. I'm going to put on my chat now, because I'm curious if any of you can guess what the big R is for me. Nobody guessed so far. Let me just have a look. I don't think I would guess myself, okay? So I'm going to put it on the screen now. So my big R is retrieval, okay? And retrieval, rock and roll, thank you. That's in the next webinar. So retrieval, what I mean by that is something that is missing in many schools, in course books and materials that we use. And to get to know what actually I'm talking about, these things will help us here. How our schools have or have not changed over the years. As we can see that many things are arriving at schools. We now have the technology. The course books we're using are beautiful, amazing. If you compare them from, I don't know, the 80s, 90s, it's like, oh my God, it's like massive gap between them. But when you look inside, to be honest, nothing changed. It's all very transmitted. It's like trying to transmit the knowledge to the students. They are not really pushed here to to produce something, and they have everything in front of them. And the same happens in classes a lot. If we don't think about it, and everybody makes those mistakes, I make those mistakes as well. I sometimes stop myself and I think, stop talking now. They don't get it. Do something else. Do it in a different way. So transmitting the knowledge is not the way to make students remember something, especially if we are talking about language teaching. Because in other areas, you listen to somebody talking about something, listen to solutions, and you say, okay, I know, I'll do it, done, okay? But in language teaching, you're not going to speak the language unless you actually try to take things out from your memory, not put them in. This is the opposite, exactly the opposite that we see in many schools. Putting things into the memory is not like, it's not going to work like it does with computers. No, it's the opposite. If you don't take things out, just like I did with my Italian, for example, from the beginning, it's impossible to remember things. So I, for example, with my Italian, I took a list of words, say days of the week or months, and I tried to learn one in one way. So I did what many students do now: take it in front of you, the piece of paper, and read it many times, say it, read it, say it. And that took a week, and I remembered like 3, and I made lots of mistakes. And I thought, what's wrong with my memory? This is what I hear from my students very often, especially adults. They say, oh, my memory is like a sieve. I literally forget everything like a goldfish. And I can't really learn. I'm not sure if you can help me. And I say, okay, let me try, and we'll do something. And in one lesson, I do a few tricks where afterwards they say, oh my God, I remember it. Okay, so this is the retrieval, and I'm going to tell you how it works. And one more thing here before we switch to the next slide is the subject that I think is missing from the curriculum in most schools. Another riddle for you. Can you guess what subject I mean? Because like I said, what happens in most schools is that the teachers kind of transmit the knowledge, and the students are supposed to receive it and to remember it. But they have no idea what to do to actually remember that, what to do to learn and to use it afterwards. Okay, speaking is, to be honest, in language classes is something very disputable. We maybe come back to it towards the end. But the subject that is missing from most of schools, because some schools I know use it, is learning how to learn. So students have no idea how to learn. They don't know how to study. So they get that knowledge in classes. The teacher is transmitting them to students. And well, after that, they are supposed to do something with it. And they come home and they open the book and they try to memorize it. That doesn't work. It just won't work unless you use retrieval in lots of different ways. So you fish things out from the memory, and then it changes everything. And that was my experimenting with Italian, where I suddenly realized that what I was trying to learn for a week, I managed to remember in 24 hours. And these are the differences. So they are very, very big. Okay, I'll go to the next one now. So something I've mentioned a minute ago, fishing things out from memory rather than putting them in. So with my days of the week in Italian, instead of trying to memorize them, I first of all put them on Quizlet or some other also pieces of paper, and I focused on 2 or 3 initially, and I tried to look at them, say them, put them away. 5 minutes later, write them on a piece of paper, then checked what mistakes I made, and say, all right, so that's spelling there, and this is completely wrong. Okay, come back to it later. So I put those things in the kitchen, in the place where I have my coffee, so that I know I'm there very often to pick up something, a snack or something. So 5, 10 times a day, I would be there, and I would be retrieving those things from my memory over and over again. After one day, I memorized those days of the week perfectly. And it just stayed there. I didn't have to worry about that anymore. So that's the power of retrieval. Obviously, what I'm talking about here is not one only tool that you should use in language classes, but this is one of the most important ones, so remember that. Okay, the next thing, when we use it. So like I said, it's an amazing learning tool, but when we use it in schools, we use it when testing, and we use it for homework, because the students are supposed to retrieve what they received in a class, which is basically like regurgitating the books and the knowledge that we have. Regurgitate, if you're not familiar with the word, because we have lots of teachers from different countries, is what happens when the mother bird is feeding the baby birds and picking up the food and put it in its mouth. This is what happens in the exams and usually at homework. Students basically regurgitate the books and the knowledge that they possessed, and they are not supposed to do anything else with it, just to say exactly what was there in the lesson, and that's it. For me, when I tried to do that with Italian, and suddenly I was in a situation in Italy where I had to say something, I said, oh gosh, I don't know what to say, because I didn't cover that sentence, that topic before. So it's if you learn like that, if you constantly receive the knowledge and are supposed to produce it in a test or in homework without doing anything with it, without being creative with it, you're not going to learn quickly, and it's going to be a slow process, okay? The next one we have here, when we can use it, well, in everyday life, like, that situation when we are at a party or at training session, you meet new people and you start talking to them, and you forget the names. You talk to somebody for 5 minutes and it's an amazing conversation. You learn new things. And then you're like, oh God, what's his name? And we forget it. And it's just one word that we heard at the beginning of the conversation. And how we can use it, how we can deal with this problem using retrieval. Again, the same story. When I have that situation, and literally I've had situations where I had 30 people in the room, and after a few minutes I knew all the names. The basic trick is to keep using the name when you are talking to them. So if it's a John, you keep saying, so John, what do you think about? And John, have you heard about this? John, it might seem strange, but in John's ears, he will be flattered that you keep using his name. He will be happy to hear it. For you, you are retrieving it all the time. You do it 4 or 5 times, you remember forever that his name was John, okay? In teaching, you can use it in all stages of the lesson. You don't only use it in production. That's the thing that very often people think, okay, so we've done this, we've done that. I explained, and now we have the production stage and they are supposed to do something with it. No, we can do it from the beginning. So we've got WIPPPF, which is warmer, introduction, presentation, production. I missed something there, and feedback at the end. So we have, presentation, production, and practice, yeah? Practice, production, and then feedback. In each of those stages, you can use retrieval. So even in the warmer, you can introduce a fraction of the new language and already try to retrieve it. And what happens then when you go to the next stage, the students are already partly familiar with it. So they are not seeing the new thing in the book, but they already heard it. They know the pronunciation and they know how to use it, okay? And the next one, there is a video. I'm not going to play it because it's literally 2 minutes long, but I'll send you a link later, where in 2 minutes, there is a brilliant explanation, a presentation that explains how your memory works. And it shows everything from the beginning, what happens inside the brain and how it all works step by step. So if anybody's interested in it, I'll send you a link later. And then shift the efforts. So this is what retrieval, how it makes classes easier for us, because it's the students who do the work. Because it's not us who should be tired after the class. They should be tired. They should have their brains sweating. I remember once one of my proficiency students said this, that my classes are like a gym for the brain, because the brain just keeps working all the time. And then it's amazing how much we remember after those classes. So this is what I try to do as much as possible, to step back, to model something, then step back and let them do it. Let them use the target language and use what we are learning in different ways, in various ways. Initially, obviously, in a controlled way, and then slowly, step by step, to more improvised way. Okay. And using course books, that's the next thing. So we're going to try to put a little bit of practice to what I've just said about what we can do. Okay, how to work with a course book without using it. This is something that is very important for me, because I realized at some point in the observations when the teacher said, okay, now open your books on page 7, and then the teacher carries on talking, and half of the students, they've opened the books and they're looking at the book, and they are not listening to the teacher anymore. So it's very important not to have those books open all the time, because at least 20, 30, 40% of the students, they will be focused on the book, not on you, and they won't really get the full picture. So only when it's necessary, we open the books and we work with them, and we use them for retrieval. And how to supplement your course book with extra practice effortlessly, because you don't need to really use too much effort to do that. Okay, so I'll give you some ideas. So that will be at that part, because I didn't really have much time to prepare it. This will be improvisations, and because I'm a musician as well, I hope I'm good enough at improvising. So I've decided to, I chose quickly 2 lessons from 2 different books, and I'm going to show you what I mean more or less. And obviously it's more to inspire you than to give you a ready-to-use recipe, but there'll also be some ideas that you can use on the spot without any preparation. So like I said, when we can use the retrieval in the introduction, at the very beginning, before they open the books, we can create a short task which introduces but also retrieves the target language soon after the introduction. So they don't have to, when you introduce the topic, don't just introduce the topic, put in something that they will see later in the book. Take some difficult words, put them in the questions, show them a picture, and use some words, and I tell them, can you guess where you can see those things? And then put those words on the board or on the screen when you're online. And they'll have this first meeting with the words, first meeting with the grammar you want to teach them. And then when you carry on to the next stages and you keep asking them questions and doing something that is close to what Socrates did, because his method of teaching ages ago was to actually ask people questions, not to transmit the knowledge to them, and so that everything was born in their heads. So this is this is very close to my idea of teaching English here. Presentation, where you can use when they open the course books, they are already retrieving. They are not seeing something for the first time, but this is the second time they meet it. So they're already ahead of the students who generally meet the new language when they open the books. Make it more efficient, retrieve the target language with books closed as often as possible. So I, especially with kids, but also with adults, what I very often do is I would say that they have their books open for 15%, 15% of the time during class. The rest of the time, we recycle and reinforce all the language that was there presented in the course book in lots of different ways, remembering about retrieving it all the time. So these are my 3 R's I mentioned at the beginning. So recycling, reinforcement, and retrieval as the most important one. Okay. And production, games, mini projects, you all know them. But the thing is not what you use. It's not the tools that you use, the newest game that you bought and then something amazing somebody recommended to you. It's how you do it, whether you remember about teaching and learning that they should equal, and remember about retrieving the knowledge at that stage, making these students use it as much as they can. So this is what we have to bear in mind. Obviously, at lower levels, it's very important, and that's something to remember, to keep the model language visible at all times during the lesson that we want them to use. Some teachers say, my students don't want to talk. What shall I do? They are lazy or something. No. Try to put yourself into their shoes. Go to a language class from zero and try to talk. This is impossible, okay? So we have to help them. We have to facilitate them with some phrases, with gap fills and stuff like that, so that when you give them a demonstration, you talk about something yourself using those phrases, then everybody will be able to speak. Better students will add more sentences to it, or they'll make it richer in vocab and so on. And weaker students will at least complete the sentences that you've prepared for them, and they'll remember them because you retrieve them from them most of the time in class. Who recognizes this lesson? What book is that? This is like old school stuff. I wonder who will guess which book this is first. Come on, yeah, there you go, Michał. Good job. Yeah, this is English File. This is, I think it's 3rd edition. I was just quickly browsed through lots of different course books, and I tried to find something that's, at first glance, is not really big, interesting, and so on. English File books are amazing because they are packed with lots of things that you can use creatively. They are made for creative people, and I love them because I can quickly pick this and that thing from the lesson, merge them together, and basically keep playing with them. So I just really love using books like that, where you don't need to use all the content. You know where you want to focus. First thing I always look at, and that goes along with my theory that I named door handle lesson planning, by basically planning a lesson as soon as you press the door handle, open the classroom, and you see the students open the book, and you quickly plan it. It's possible, but it requires quite a lot of training, and obviously I don't recommend doing it all the time, but there are times, you all know, that we need to do something like that. So it's possible when we have that strategy to produce off the cuff. And that strategy is, first of all, recognize the most important language content. So when you look at these 2 pages, there's quite a lot happening there, but what is the most important is, first of all, the questions here. I'll try to make them a bit bigger. So there are questions about what you did during some memorable holiday. And the other thing here is the verbs, irregular verbs in past simple. And this is something that questions, both questions and irregular verbs, something that many students have lots of problems with, and you know it yourself, and you know that very often after class you're like, gosh, we've done it so many times and I still don't remember this and that. And I love Jason's idea with wrapping the irregular verbs. It's things like that help because they don't focus on the verbs themselves, but they do something else with it. So I love doing things like that. So when I look at 2 pages of the course book, I quickly think, okay, what we can do with them before we even open the books. So first of all, I would think, oh, we've got those questions. I would start talking about my holiday, for example, I had in the past, and try to ask the students, can you try and guess what question I'm answering? So then they will be trying to guess the question I'm answering. So for example, let's say we have, what did you wear? So I can say, oh, that night I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt with my favorite band and so on. So they start guessing the question. And I keep saying, no, there is one word missing. What do we use for the past simple? You see, I'm already trying to retrieve something they'd learned before. Now, once they get the question, I put it on the board. So we do it step by step instead of just landing on this page in the course book and showing them all of those questions. So if you do it like that, the stronger students will reinforce their knowledge and their question formation. The weaker students, they will find it easier throughout the lesson to remember it though and to use it. And the same with the verbs. It's also, I wouldn't just get to the stage of the lesson with them and say, listen, guys, we've got these verbs here. So now, who knows what's the past simple of come? Okay. No. This just goes nowhere. We have to do something about it. So before the lesson, I would also try to do something like even merge it with what I mentioned about questions. I would say, in the meantime, I'm going to use a word like, say, banana. You have to replace the banana with the right verb, write it and hold it up. So what happens here, they, at the same time as practicing question formation in warmer/introduction, they are also trying to revise the verbs, but they don't just use the verbs. They have to listen to the content, listen to my story, the sentences I say, and try to guess, okay, so what verb is it? And how do we say it in past simple? And they actually use them. They don't regurgitate it, as I said before. They use them and they reinforce them over and over again. So this is the first thing I would do. And look, can you see how much we've already done before we open the book? Because still, the books are closed at that stage. And they have no idea what we're going to do then. Okay? Now, if we look at the rest of those 2 pages, what skills are practiced in this lesson and how we can go the extra mile with those skills, because that's another thing that I like doing, going the extra mile with the things, not just leave them like that. So we've got 3 different skills that are practiced here. The first one is reading. Second one I will get to in a minute is listening, and then there is the speaking. So with reading, if you just ask them to open the books and read the whole text and match it with the questions, how much do they need to think there? They will focus on the book, they'll be looking inside the book, trying to read and find out which question is matching which part of the paragraph here, and so on. Yes, that is how some of the books suggest doing it, but try doing it in a different way. So once we've done the introduction I told you about, divide them into the groups of 3. You can do the same online because you've got breakout rooms, and tell them that one person will be reading a part of the text with the book open, while the 2 others have their books closed, and they have to guess which question is being answered. So what's happening here? There is communication. They have to listen carefully to what the other person is reading. They have to think about what questions we had there before on the board, and we retrieve the questions. And after we've said them a few times, we will be able to use those questions whenever we need to. So this is what we have thanks to retrieval. If we keep retrieving things over and over again, we just get to the stage where we don't need to learn them anymore. They're just there. They stay there. Another thing is listening. And this is one of the things that I often hear, gosh, what else can you do with the listening? Where you've got, let's have a look what it says there. This is classical true or false, yeah? List and checklist again, and correct information. So we've got, kind of true or false. So you have to correct the sentences. And this is okay. So they can listen to it twice and they correct the information they are given here. Then what I very often do, I ask them to close their books. And I say, listen, and before the lesson, I had a quick look at the script and I found 3 or 4 different phrases, collocations, phrasal verbs, idioms that I think, this will be useful for them. How do we make them retrieve it? So they've already listened to this exercise twice. They close the books and I say, I'll play it again. You are in pairs and I want you to listen carefully because I'm going to stop in the middle of the sentence and I want you to finish the sentence. So to write what did that person say in that sentence and just finish it. And it's kind of a quiz where they get points. So, for example, if it's spotless and it's exactly the same as the person said, they get 3 points, 1 mistake, 2, and so on. So they think they are playing a game here, but what's happening? It's constant retrieval. They are thinking, what did he say? What words did he use? How did he say it? Then when I give them the correct answer and they see it, they're like, oh, yes, that was it. Okay, I remember now. When I come back to it, because this is what I also like doing, we'll leave the listening, go on to something else, and then close the book and I say, okay, in the listening, remember, what was the phrase that he used to describe this and that? Retrieval again. So they have to fish for it and find it and bring it back. And believe me, the more times we do it, it does the magic, and it just stays in our memory. And we also have this thing here. Oh, wait, my mouse. Oh, because I have to. Okay, go back. Kind of a speaking here, which also gives you something that you can use for speaking and to practice speaking, to practice asking questions. So you can do it as the book says, but you can also, well, I just put a note here at the bottom, you can use that kind of the dice game. So this question they're asking about things like when was it, where were you, who were you with, and so on. You can quickly put a table on the board with headings such as like places, people, clothes, and so on, and ask students to give you 6 examples of each, put them on those lists in the columns, and then each student will roll a die, and this way select one of these items, and every single student will have a completely different list thanks to that. And then the 2 students sit together, ask and answer those questions. So they practice asking the questions, and they have to put into sentences what they've just had during that dice game. And then I also tell them that apart from that, I want you to take some notes what the other person said, because you're going to tell us those interesting stories that they told you about. So there's another stage where we have retrieval. So they'll be, again, fishing out from memory what they remember about what that person said. And we can also say, ask somebody else to ask the questions that we had there with the books closed. So that will help them again to retrieve. So this is how we can supplement this book. Other ideas, it's just countless. We could have separate workshops, separate sessions about just the listening or just the reading and how to retrieve what we learned from there. But the most important thing for me is that to bear it in mind, that retrieval is very, very crucial. And if we show them in class that it's important to do it, afterwards they will remember and they will see the power of it, and they'll be using it at home when they are revising. They won't be just staring at books. They will know what to do. So let's show them, let's teach them how to do it, because like I said, we don't have that subject at schools and nobody tells us about it. So how should young learners, for example, know how to do it, let alone adults who very often, like I said before, tell me that they have terrible memory. And I prove in 1 hour that it's amazing. I actually have great memory. That's another example. It's a totally different story. This is one of the books we use for children in my school. Anybody recognizes this one? Let's have a look if anybody's using it. No, I can't see anyone knowing. This is it's an interesting series I learned about from somebody who showed it to me from Cambridge, and then we started using it in my school, just because it pushes students to a higher level, even if they're like A2 and they use the A2 book, the vocabulary and everything they do there is kind of higher compared to all the other course books that students use at this age and level. So again, do you remember what's the first thing we have to look for when we're preparing the lesson? Who remembers? Let's have a look. So many people there, everybody's quiet. Exactly, target language. Thank you. So target language. Here is quite simple. This lesson focuses on vocab. And as you see, we've got it in the song here on the left. Let me just put on my magic wand so that I can point at things. Oh, okay, I can't do it now. So we've got the words here. The students can see them. They've got the pictures to match them with. But you see, this is what I mean. It's kind of like, there's the transmission. Yes, they are supposed to match it, but nothing really happens here. So again, I would try to, let me just skip to the next part. I would try to introduce them without the book, so that when we get to the book, it's already partly familiar to them. So what we can do, look at this exercise on the right we have, which is from, I think it's from CAT exam. No, sorry, Flyers. Cambridge Flyers, where they have words described and they have to guess which word is being described. So it can use literally the last stage of this lesson as a warmer to the whole thing. So put the words on the board, all the words, and then you can either use these definitions here or make your own ones and have a game where you describe the words and the students in pairs write it on a mini boards on piece of paper and hold them up to show it to you. What are they doing there? They are constantly listening, transforming it, and trying to guess what we're talking about. A lot of focus. Oh, sorry, I didn't say what's the title of the book. It's called Power Up. Power Up. It's a whole series, and there's, like I said, we find them really useful at my school. So by doing that, if you do it in the introduction, you will see how the lesson goes and how much they remember, how much more they remember step by step, because you keep closing the book, retrieving the words or the target language from them, and playing it like that all the time. Another thing, recently, a few months ago, I had a training session here in my hometown, and I was asking teachers, so how would you, what do you do? How do you introduce vocab before students open the book? And one of the teachers said, oh, I just do that very simple thing. She says, I put the words on the board, I point at the words and they have to pronounce them. And then I erase them one by one and put, for example, numbers instead, or happy faces, as it says here. And when I erase them and put something else instead, they have to remember what was there before. So you see, you already have retrieval before you open the book. The students have to remember what was there before the happy face appeared. And you can do, and I told her, you can actually go the extra mile here. You can go further with it, because when you do that and you end up with happy faces on the board only, you can ask volunteers to come to the board, erase the happy face, and write what word was there before. So see what's happening here. It's like, they had to memorize the words, even though they thought they were playing the game, and then they had to retrieve them before even opening the book. So they already remember quite a lot. They get to the book and they match the words. And this is another thing that it helps you with. You've got those early finishers very often in classes. This is how you help all the weaker students to do the exercises, because when you open the books and you tell the students, okay, have a look at it now, and can you try and match the words with the pictures, the weakest students will find it much easier now. They will be practically 80% confident with most of the language here. Listening with books closed, number the words. Yeah, exactly. So even you can do another thing. Close the books again, and then you've got those happy faces on the board, and the students can listen to the song again and try to guess which word was that is mentioned in the song. Now there is this, okay, we've had this before, so books closed, okay, and there is this crossword here, and if you have a look at it, we've got the words that have scrambled letters, and you have to kind of guess what word it is. In my opinion, this is an intelligence test. It's not testing your language skills at all, because many of us just can't do it. Just have no idea. Well, what the hell? What's that word? Where's the first letter? And so on. Instead of this, because I think personally this exercise is not teaching them a lot, I would ask them to close the books again, and I would take the book and have two pairs of students next to me. Two of them would see the word that I point at in the book, and then they would have to write the word on the back of the person who's standing in front of them, so that the person who's standing in front of them has to focus what letters are being drawn on the back, and this way they actually practice spelling, okay? Because they have like individual letters, they have to put it into a word and say the word. So instead of this, that I think personally doesn't teach them anything, and it's a bit unfair towards the students who find these things difficult, I would do something like that instead. And again, if you get to this stage where you have those definitions here at the very end, now everybody can do it very quickly, and then they wouldn't have any problems, and you wouldn't have that many early finishers, because they would all finish more or less at the same time. That's another thing that I often find interesting and important in classes when I observe the teachers. Very small thing that is incredibly important in classes. The moment when you ask them to open the books. I never ask them to open the books when I still have something to say. And this is something I always try to bear in mind. When I make that mistakes, I tell them to close the books again, and we come back to what I was talking about, and then they focus on me. Also, if you think this exercise that you see circled here, it will be difficult to some students in your class, do it again in a speaking version. Describe the words to them. Ask the strongest students to come to the front of the class, show them the word, and ask them to tell the others to describe this word. If they try to do it many times, and then, for example, you read out these definitions from the book, the students have to guess them, then you ask them to open the books, I guarantee that most of them will finish at the same time, and you won't have to go around the classroom and check who's finished, who's not, and help the weaker ones and so on, because they'll already know what to do. Somebody might ask, oh, well, wait, but what about the assessment? We assess them, at that stage, we check what they remember. Who cares about assessment? We care about what they learn. We want them to learn. So if you do it this way, they actually learn this way, and they will remember more. And where is the point in actually trying to assess how well they've done it? No, put it aside and then just try to focus on making it, for all of them, making it easy to remember, to retrieve the language content as much as possible, and this way being able to use it. And at the end of the lesson, when you have a quick, again, speaking test where you describe the words and students have to come up with them, or have some kind of like running dictation or running to the board or whatsoever. There's millions of games that you can use, but remember, if you squeeze in the retrieval part, they'll be much more efficient in your class. Okay. Okay, so we go to the next part. I'll just have a look at what you say on the chat. Yeah, not very dyslexic friendly. It's like exactly, some students have difficulties that make it impossible for them to do those exercises. Okay, the game before the game. So when we play the games, the biggest problem sometimes is that we do the wrong things at the beginning, and the students lose the motivation because they say, oh no, I want us to be with Jim, and she wants to be with Kasia, and so on. Oh, and then we don't know what to do, and very often we say, okay, forget it, back to the books, because there's too much hustle with it. Okay, how can we avoid it? What can we do? How to organize it in a way that we don't have those moments? So this part, and in this part, I'll tell you about how to or not to give instructions to divide the class into teams, maintain discipline, and avoid demotivation. And obviously, I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I'll try to quickly cover these points so that you have some ideas. Maybe we'll have another session in the future so we can focus on individual things here. Every single one deserves a proper 1 or 2 hours session to focus on. How to or not to give instructions. Okay, common problems we encounter while giving instructions. And I'm curious if you could put quickly on the chat what problems you encounter when you give instructions to the game, instructions to activities, to whatever they have to do in class. What problems do you have, and how do they disturb the lesson? Handout before the instruction. Yeah, exactly. That's like I said, if you give handout before instruction, it just spoils everything. They focus on the handout and they don't not listening to you. And then you have stronger ones who finish before these weaker ones actually just started. They skip the intro and go directly to the activity. Exactly. Giving too much info. Very good. That's a very good point. Giving too much info in your instructions. Running commentary. So what happens for me very often, and not checking if they understand. Thank you. For me, the main problem here is that when the teachers give those instructions and they think they've done a very good job, and even if they ask checking questions, and if they go further and go the extra mile and repeat the instructions, ask the individual people, so what do we have to do with that? Do we do this? Do we do that? They say no, yes, and you check the understanding. Boom, you run it, and still there will be 2, 3, 4 weaker students will be like staring at you and thinking, you can see it in their eyes, they have no idea what to do. So what can we do with that? Negative consequences of poor instructions is what I just said. You basically have some people, there'll always be some people who have no idea what they're supposed to do. There's one thing to do, it's demonstration. As I always said, it's why do we like giving instructions so much? I just got rid of the instructions in my classes, to be honest. I don't do them. If it's something simple, obviously, and quick, well, yeah, dry run, somebody said, yeah, Michał, thank you. You actually said no demo. Yeah, demo is like a very powerful tool, because if you want them to do something and you take one or two students with you to the front of the class who you know are stronger, and do a couple of examples, 2, 3, and then take somebody else and do the same, they don't need the instructions. It's like for us, when you buy a new thing, what is better for you to do? Open the manual and read it, or go to YouTube and watch the video how the other person does it. This is how it works. This is how they say it in class. If they watch the other people doing it, they know what we'll have to do, and you won't have to spend too much time giving instructions. And remember, instructions are always the most difficult way to do it. And I always say that us who are non-native speakers have the great tool in our hands, because we can sometimes save a lot of time switching in some Polish, for example, in my case, and quickly explaining what we are doing next. If I can see that I don't have an idea how to do the demo here, if I don't know how to explain it, I ask my student, can I speak in Polish now? Because we've got that kind of like language hygiene in class, and we always make sure that we ask if we can use our native language. So using it in that way, sparingly, but making it more efficient, the whole class, and thinking about the time is really helpful. Okay, how to divide into teams. That's another thing where we have lots of problems with. In one class, everything works. You go to the next class, use exactly the same game, try to divide them into teams, and then you go, oh, I don't want to be with him, I don't want to do that. Why that happens? It happens because you divide them into pairs, teams, and so on. So they think this is your decision, and they don't want to agree with you. They have another idea. So they usually there's at least 1 or 2 students like that. Sometimes half a group will be like that. So what can we do to avoid that? Put away the emotional part. So do it in a way that they see that it's not you who decided about that. So a blind draw technique, as I call it, there are lots of ways in which we can use it. So for example, this is very funny thing, because they already think this is a game. So in class, I put them in a circle, and I tell them, okay, listen, I'm going to describe 3 different words from today's lesson. the first person who guesses the word comes to me and becomes a captain. So this way, retrieval again. I've got 3 or 4 students with me who guessed the words quickly. They turn back to everybody else, and I give every other person a number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. We've got 10 people, guys who are standing back to everybody else, say a number, and the person who's got that number comes to you. So see, that's why I call it a blind draw. You see what happens here? The emotions are moved to the students, not to you. So it's not you who decide. Even if a student who doesn't like some other student in class chooses that person to his team because he can't see him, he's standing back to him, he won't be able to say anything. He won't have any arguments because he'll say, hey, you chose that number, so you're together now, okay? So there are lots of ways of doing that. You can ask them to write their names on a piece of paper, mix them together, throw them in the air, and then ask people to come up and take one piece of paper, and that'll be their partner. And again, it's them who decides. So many ways to do it. You can Google things like that, and you'll find lots of ideas. And they are really efficient because we save the time. How to avoid demotivation? If I see that I have a group where the points don't work, they get annoyed, I just don't use the points. We just play the game in a way that they play against me. So I tell them, listen up, if you do it correctly, if you say the correct sentence, this correct word, and so on, you get a point. But if you make a mistake, I get a point. And another thing, if you speak Polish, I get a point for that. So this is amazing. I just put that simple chart on the board. And whenever somebody says something in Polish, I smile and come to the board and put a point for myself. Whenever they make a mistake in the game, I say, sorry, that's a point for me. So that makes the whole lesson funny because they don't compete against each other and one another. They compete against the teacher. And this is what they find fun, and they love it, and especially when they manage to make you lose. And that's for them, this is more than a game. This is amazing. They come back home and say, yeah, we won with the teacher today. And for you, you are like, yes, I won. They actually mastered present perfect in that game, and they didn't even realize that, okay? So the teacher always loses. I pretend that I'm crying and I pretend I'm like, next time I'll get better and I'll win. It just works. Those simple, very simple things. You see, everything I'm talking about here is not bringing in lots of tools and buying things and so on. No, it's just using what's around you and your creativity, and maybe writing. This is what I usually have. I write a list of things that I like using in certain period of time, like now when we are teaching online, and I always have that list next to me. And whenever I think they need more retrieval with what we are doing now, I have a look at the list. We can do this, boom, and we practice that thing. The art of game changing. This is the final part here, and game changing has got double meaning here. Game changing, on the one hand, the whole retrieval thing that is really rarely used in classes, and it should be happening much more. And game changing meaning that you change the games that you already know into the games that actually do much more, and make them learn much more than just that one thing. And I'll show you some examples here, because whenever I come to a class and I see somebody pulling out Twister, Scrabble, and things like that, I'm thinking, okay, let's see what he or she can do with that. And usually the games are used the way they were meant to be used by the producers. What can we do here to have more practice? Because the students know those games and they love them. They want to play them. But what if we totally change them? They will be speechless. They'll be like, wow, that's a teacher's game. And he made that game using, Scrabble or something, yeah? So this is how to give some existing games a new life and create versatile games on the spot. This is something that I really like doing. I sometimes create games and I warn the class. I tell them, listen, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. But maybe, what if we actually together create a game that will be something totally new and we'll love doing it? Let's try. And this is what happens very often in my classes. Okay. Let me just move these windows around because I can't see the full screen. What we use these games for and how to make them more efficient. Okay, so first of all, Scrabble I mentioned before. I think I've seen Scrabble in every single school and language school I've worked in, and I'm always wondering, why is it there, and why would we play Scrabble in class unless this is a proficiency class where students can actually compete because they've got wide range of vocab and they can use it efficiently and so on. And so when I see Scrabble, I'm thinking, first time I remember, I grabbed Scrabble at a school I worked for, and I thought, okay, we're no way we're going to play like that. No, we're going to do something else with it. So we sat down in a circle, and I picked one of the tiles with a letter. I showed it to the students, and I said, okay, listen, I'm going to describe a word to you that either begins or finishes with this letter, and I want you to listen carefully and guess. If you guess correctly, you get the tile, and it's kind of your point in the game. So there you go. We started off, and then I realized they are getting more confident. So I shifted the whole thing to them. So then they could take a tile, look at the letter, talk to the others, describe a word, and the others will have to guess what they're talking about. So I model the situation. I showed them what we can do with the thing that they used for totally predictable, in a predictable way before. We do something different. I model it, and they start using it. And you step back, and you can, for example, take some notes of most common mistakes that you can put on the board at the end and work on them with students so that we have some feedback from what they do here. So Scrabble, lots of ideas. You can do it online as well. If you go to wordwall.net, for example, you will find, if you put alphabet in search, you will find lots of simple games where there are windows where you click on the window and it opens a letter, and then the students, for example, have to describe the word beginning or ending with this letter to the others. But you obviously start doing it. So the next one is Twister, and I remember when first time when I always use it, this example, when I try to explain the teachers I work with how to make the games more efficient. So I remember when I told the teachers I work with once, oh, I used Twister with my proficiency class. And they were like, what? Twister? That's a waste of time. They're preparing for the exam. How could you do that? This is like doing nothing for them. Parts of the body and colors. Come on. I said, no. So what we did, I put them into two teams, and they sat on the two opposite sides of the mat. And I told them, now guys, I'm going to take your course book, and I'm going to choose some words from your course book and describe them to you. And the first person who guesses the word I'm talking about, or idiom, or phrasal verb, or whatsoever, that person comes over to me, chooses the person from the opposite team, and twists the thing, and chooses this way where this person has to go on the mat. And the team that manages to put the whole opponent's team on the mat first wins the whole game. Amazing. They just got into it so much. It was amazing. I used it for grammar as well, where instead of a verb or some grammar content in a sentence, I put something else, such as, for example, a banana instead of verb I said before, or what's it, which is a word that some Americans use to describe a word that they forgot. It slipped their mind, and they say, oh, what's it? So sometimes I use what's it to describe, to replace something in a sentence. And if they get it correctly, they put somebody on the mat. So there you go. Any level, even adults can use it this way, because they'll know they're focusing on listening skills, they'll revise vocab and grammar and so on. And obviously, what I'm talking about here, you decide what kind of language content you want them to study here, because it's you who chooses the vocab, the grammar, and so on. So a perfect retrieval tool here. Countless ways you can use in which you can use Twister. So think about it. Okay, Simon says, that's a quick thing to hear. Again, whenever I see somebody teaching young learners and then who goes, okay, we'll play Simon Says now, bam, 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 and it's like just touch, 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 and foreheads, let's say nose, and so on, and that's it. I remember when I was working with, when I worked with kindergarten kids years ago, about 20 years ago, I had really ambitious kids, and they said, "We don't want to play that game anymore because it's boring. It's we don't learn. We want it more difficult." So I said, "Okay." So I introduced, first of all, new verbs. So not only touch, but I showed them pinch. So can you pinch your nose, pinch your ear, and or earlobe, or other things? Rub, yeah. You can put tap. So if you introduce a few verbs and put them into phrases, there you go. They have collocations, and you can teach collocations in kindergarten like that. And plus, you can squeeze in other parts of the body to it that they normally don't have in the course books. The armpit, for example. Have you ever seen an armpit in a course book? And it's something that we actually use quite a lot when we talk about our body. Yeah. So these are the things that if you put them into sentences, there you go. A lot of learning there. Back to the board. This is a classical ESL game that's been used for ages. Simple thing, if you're not familiar with that, if you want them to revise vocab, you put one person sitting back to the board, behind him or her, write the word on the board, and the others have to describe this word without using the word on the board, so that the person in the chair can guess it. And again, this is a versatile game because you can put questions on the board, you can put whole sentences on the board, you can change it completely by putting things on the cards and put them into teams. And one person takes the card and has to answer the question that is on the card, and the others in the team, they have to think, oh, how to make this question and how it works, how to form it, and so on. Retrieval all the time. Retrieval happens here, even though they are still thinking they are just playing the game. Okay, versatile game bank. This is like the last part here, and I'm going to show you a few things that but they were created in my classes with my students. We were like thinking, okay, so let's use this, let's do that, let's put it together, and this is a game, it works. Jason, I'm not sure how much time, probably stretched it a bit. If you're there, just let me know if we can carry on, or maybe we should have another meeting. I don't want to take too much of your time.
I think you should absolutely carry on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Because
we have a lot of people here, and I think you're getting into the best stuff here. So,
thank you. Okay.
And you see, let him carry on. Yeah, I would be in a lot of trouble probably.
Okay. So the things that I created with my students in my classes, this is the first one, and we called it the sentence bomber. So that there is something with bombs in it. Okay, let's have a look. So let's say I've got 3 teams. This is amazing, simple game. The simplest thing in the world that you can use in any class, any level, and you practice grammar, practice question formation, practice putting sentences together, and you also make them aware what goes where in the sentence. But let me show it to you because it's you have to understand how it works. So we made 3 teams, and I said, listen, guys, we're going to, the main thing was we're going to make a sentence. So I'm going to give you the first word, and then team 1, you'll have 5 seconds to say the next word, and team 2, next 5 seconds to say the next word. And we carry on like that until somebody makes a mistake. If you make a mistake, you get a bomb. And the winners are the team who have the least bombs on the accounts. The losers are the ones who have the biggest number of bombs. And okay, then we said, okay, but we have to make it a bit more interesting. So we said, okay, let's put question marks and full stops here. So when you finish a question and you say a question mark, I erase it. So you only have 3 question marks and 3 full stops for the whole game. If you run out of them, you get a bomb. Okay. So the next thing, I realized they started overusing some words in the game. So I said, okay, I'll put them here. If you use the forbidden word, you get a bomb. There you go. They stopped using and, but, like, or, and they were looking carefully at that so that they don't use it at all. Okay, and then I start a sentence, and I can say one word, I can say the full beginning. If I want them to practice conditionals, I put the beginning of a sentence like that so that they know how to carry on, because it's got to be the second conditional. So I say this, and then in the team one says, okay, perfect, we carry on. And the team two says magic, and the next one says want. Okay, excellent. Okay, we come back to team one. They say I, and then would. I said, perfect, we've got the conditional here. Okay, it's a good construction. Turn, Jarek. It's a Polish name that got very popular recently. Into frog. And why did they get a bomb here, team three? Because they didn't use the article. They should have said, oh, a frog. You give them a chance here to correct it themselves. Don't just give them the answer. Martka. Yeah, I wanted to say a bit more here, Martka, but I'm not going to do that. So this is the stage where they have a chance to do language correction. They do it together in the team, and then they remember next time they'll be thinking, oh, we have to use a or an, and so on. And you can do the same game in online version. When you have your online class, just as you see our chat here, I do it online with my students where I put something first, I send it to everybody, and then they know that they are like in three teams, and they keep adding the next word. But the rule is they have to read everything from the beginning and then their word. So they will be constantly thinking about the construction of the whole thing. And then you will see step by step the words that kind of like, come in a sentence, and they start building it. And then when somebody makes a mistake, you stop them and you say, okay, have a look at the guys, have a look on the chat and tell me what's wrong, how we can repair it. Oh, so we have to go 2 steps back because there was a missing article or something else. Okay, very simple thing. And like I said, if you, as the first word, you say there, for example, there are, they know they are describing a place, for example, and they carry on. You can put something like having said, and then they have to carry on to that. So you can practice it with any level, any kind of language content you wish, and you decide what which target language they are practicing here. So this is a very simple thing that you can use on the spot, no preparation, nothing. Just remember how to go with it, and your students will absolutely love it. And as you see, like at the end of the game, let's say team 1 loses, team 2 wins because they only have 1 bomb, and some of them run out of question marks and full stops and so on. Very simple, very efficient. Like I said, for any model, any language. That was for grammar especially. This is for vocab now. Again, although this actually I came up with it in a car. I was driving and I was thinking, gosh, what can I do to make them speak and to revise vocabulary? But I don't want to talk too much in that class. So I had an idea in the car. So I thought, okay, I got in the class and I told them, listen, guys, you've got your course books and we've already covered 6 units. So in your pairs, you get 2 units per pair. And when you get your 2 units, I want you to take those pieces of paper, the cards, and write the most important words that we studied in those 2 units. So they put words on the cards, then I collect all the cards from everybody, and then everybody gets, at random, they get 3 of those. Everybody's got 3 cards, and now they have to think about, at lower levels, they will have to write a sentence or 2 to describe those words and come to me so that I can help them. Once they've got that, they mingle. Again, this is something that is possible to do either online or face-to-face. So they have to go to every other person in class and read or describe the words they have. If the person guesses the word, they get a tick next to a name on card 1, card 2. If they don't guess it, they get a cross. At the end of the lesson, you put a big chart on the board and count all the points, and you tell everybody who's the vocabulary. So somebody who has the strongest vocabulary. What actually they have been doing in this game is revising vocab, doing listening practice, listening comprehension, and retrieving the words, because they were the words that they studied before. What was your preparation? Nothing. Completely nothing. So you gave them the cards They had to write the word, choose and write the words already while preparing for the game. Then they had to write the sentences and describe it to the others. All the time there is communication going on, but also there is retrieval, constant retrieval, fishing those words, those things out from the memory. So again, something that you can use with any vocab you cover in the book, any level, with lower levels, like I said, give them beginnings of sentences, let them finish them, and then ask them to do it in pairs with every other person in class. Okay, now the most boring part. I guess we all struggle sometimes when we get to the end of the unit, or sometimes it happens after like a couple of units, and you've got those revision pages, and the students are like, "Oh, we don't want to do that. This is boring." Of course, this is like exercise after exercise, and it's all like reading and not really doing anything. And so at one lesson, I said, okay, we have to turn it into a game. Seems impossible, but let's try and do it. So I said, we will make it a strategy game. And this is something that all the teachers I work with, they know it, and they know I use it. All my students, they know it, because every time we have a revision, we play strategy game, and they know what it's all about. And I actually started enjoying revision pages. They just love them now. So what we do is, first of all, on the whiteboard, or you can do it for online classes, you can do it in Microsoft Word, any other way where you can draw something. And as you see, this is like a table where in each square, you've got the numbers of exercises that you see in the book. So, for example, 1.1 is exercise 1, example number 1, okay, and so on. So this is the whole page of exercises turned into a diagram like that. Next thing we do, we put this chart here for the points. So I've got 3 teams: stars, hearts, happy faces, and I explain to them, listen guys, if you pick a number, let's say, for example, 1.2, you have to read it out and tell us what's the answer. And at that point, it's best if all the books are closed and only the team who are doing it, they open the book and focus on that one line and give you the answer. Because otherwise, everybody will be like into different exercises, and it won't be that exciting. And the other thing is that if they read it out, everybody else will be thinking what it is, because if they don't guess it, maybe they can take over and use the same example. So let's say, for example, they chose this one here, 1.5. They did it correctly. They get a point in the chart, and they get their star in this diagram. Now, what happens next, why it's called strategy game, is because there you go, then there's a heart, then there's a happy face, and we get back to the stars, and the stars already know that if they take one of the squares that is direct neighbor to where they have their star already, they get an extra point. If there are 2 like that, they get 2 extra points. So if they kind of shoot around one spot and then get the middle one, they can even get 9 points for one sentence. So they take 2.4, and as you see, they already have 3 points. And now the strategy begins, because they are thinking now, oh, those have too many points, we have to block them, so you have to take that one. So very often they have to choose the content that they don't want to revise, but they have to do it because they want to win the game. And that's how it carries on. And then we have, like, this is good 45, 50 minutes with just this one game, but the amount of learning and retrieval that is happening here is just amazing, because if they do it, they give you the wrong answer, then it's the spot stays there, so the others can take it again. And sometimes you will see that they come back to the same question 5, 6, 7 times, and they still don't know. And this is amazing, because you know you found the thing that nobody knew the answer to, and you can focus on it at the end of the class. So that's the thing. We'll decide, there's a website for that where you create your own wheel and you can use it the same way with your classes. You see, put the numbers of exercises on it and have a simple chart when you write down the points, and the students can spin the wheel, and the wheel show them which exercise they have to do. And the boring revision turns into an exciting game. But remember, do it in a way that they constantly have to retrieve the language that we studied in class. Okay, so before you create anything, that's the last thing I wanted to mention here. Before you get into that stage where you think like, okay, I've got that present simple game, the present simple lesson, and I have to do something amazing there, and you sit down and you start creating or look on the internet and try to buy something, Google it. There's lots of things there. You've got WordWall. When you get on that website and you search the community, you just put in the search window on that website, for example, present perfect continuous, and boom, you've got at least 20 games that you can use for retrieval during your class. Bamboozle, the same thing. You've got lots of games there based on what I said before, where you get the answer and you have to form the question. And this is like, something that you can use without any preparation. Face-to-face online doesn't make any difference. Quizlet bases on retrieval, but because you actually have to, when you look at the definition or at the meaning in another language, you have to think and say the thing and then check if you're right. So Quizlet is amazing for retrieval. And in my school, every single class has got their own Quizlet, and we every week we check the progress and how much they practice on it and so on. And it really does give results if you do it this way. Generally, amazing tool for making everybody in Poland knows what it is. It's just shocking what you can create there. You can create board games that you can play online. You can create presentations. But the important thing about Genially is that a lot of the stuff has already been created. And when you get to the website, you can't find it. So the key thing is to go to Google and put, for example, Genially present perfect. There you go. You will get search results and about 20 different, at least, presentations that somebody's made before. And you can use them just like that. So that's a very important thing about Genially. There is no search on the website per se. You have to use Google for that. Volscreen, somebody told me about it recently, and I was shocked that there's something like that exists. And I absolutely love it. So thanks to the person, I don't remember who it was, but one of the forums we had a discussion about different things you can do in class. I'm going to show this one to you in a second as the last thing in the meeting, and you will see what I mean, where something that's we always think about how to use the video in class so that it's productive. What can you do with the video? This website has got everything sorted out. You don't need to prepare anything. It just does the thing. And slidesgo.com is the tool that I used for this presentation, and it's an amazing website where you have ready-to-use templates for presentations. Very simple to use. They are already in PowerPoint format or in Google, I think Google Slides. So you choose the theme. For example, if it's cooking, you already have like different cooking templates, and you can create the presentation very quickly. Just I did here. Doesn't take too much work. You just replace the content, the text, and so on. Okay, I will quickly jump out of this because I'd like to show you just one thing. I'm going to share it with you. Okay, just tell me, let me know on the chat if you can see my screen. Full screen, yeah. Okay, you can see it, perfect. I just want to quickly show you what you can do there. You can either register there with your own language, or you can stick to English only. I like using it with a bit higher levels and having English only, because it really lets them focus on comprehension. So the simplest thing in the world that happens here, you've got short clips from different movies and cartoons where they say something, and then you have two meanings. They're two separate explanations of what they said, and the students have to choose the correct one. So let's have a look at this first one.
You didn't have to ask.
Okay, you didn't have to ask. I can put subtitle on what he said, and then I have two different options saying the same thing in other words. You know, in different exams, you've got the thing when you have to say things in other words, FCE, CAE, and then you pick one and you get points and you carry on.
Get up, stand up, stand up for your right.
And there you go again. You don't have to use subtitles. You can use subtitles off, and it just gives you the two meanings of the things they said. Oh, sorry, I pressed.
Get up, stand up,
Just try to show you one
stand
more.
up for your right.
You're a loyal friend, Mother.
And you see also what happens. They have to focus on a very short extract. It's not that like they are bombarded with the language. They focus on that, and then they have to be careful and read carefully and see which one is exactly, which sentence is exactly the same. Yes, it's. I mentioned that before. Somebody said here, Martkas, that you can use different. Like I said at the beginning, you can use a different language. If I register here, as I'm saying, I'm from Poland, then I'll have it in two languages. So the explanations will be in English. So these two options will be in Polish, and the subtitles will be in English. So you can use it in two different ways, but just an amazing tool. If you have any questions, if you would like to. I don't know, get any links or whatsoever from this presentation, you can use these here to contact me anytime. You can email me or contact me on Facebook. I think we have one question here from Veronica. Yeah,
I'll hang back and let you do that.
Okay, so we have Veronica says, how many students in the teams for the last games you talked about? I always try to keep the teams quite small because it's easier to control the whole thing. So I love using 2s, 3s, 4s, and I wouldn't make any bigger games. There are some games where you can have bigger teams. Remember when I described that game where you have to ride on somebody else's back, or when you do, for example, like back to the board style game, you can have like 2 big teams for that, or Twister, for example, that I said the other way of using it. But usually smaller teams, it works much better this way.
I will share the recording through American TESOL Institute. So it will go on the American TESOL Institute webinar Facebook page. It does sometimes make its way to YouTube. Also, we'll give Marek a copy so he can put it on his site if he likes. But it will, as far as in social media, will originate on Facebook. And yeah, that will be in a few days. We'll have that ready for everybody. Yes, well, I'll share it. We will share it in Innovative Teachers of English. Nice to see so many people from Innovative Teachers of English here today. Thank you. Yeah, so it will be on the ATI, that's American TESOL Institute page, and then we will share it out to groups, including, of course, ITE, Innovative Teachers of English. Would you agree that this gentleman is an innovative teacher of English? the big R. It's funny how many R's there are. You want to know?
Yeah.
I relax, repeat, remember. Remember and retrieval. To me, they go together. But I love retrieval because remembering doesn't necessarily mean retrieval. It can get right to think of the distinction there. But I have 2 more R's for my 3.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead. Yeah.
Actually, no, I have 3 more. I have rhythm, rhyme, and rap. So it's just crazy, like how many R's there are. Yeah. People were putting in the R's. They were relevance. Relevance is a great one, right? Of course, realia, reality. It's interesting, isn't it? Recycle, right? Revision. So yeah, we have to make it into one big R, and then we can unpack it, all the other R's from the big R.
Wanted to say that when I saw Jason's 3 R's, I thought that that's something that I subconsciously kind of use in my classes. So I try to always run it the way that they are not stressed. If I see they are, I try to help them, assist them, and facilitate them with whatever they need to use. Yeah, so the students cannot be stressed because to say it again, just for the end, for the last part.
Yeah.
Everybody remember, try to have that experience, try to learn another language from scratch, try to either join a class or do something with that, even trying to picking a language and learning a set of words yourself using Google or YouTube or whatever. You will see exactly how your students feel in class, and this is crucial. It's like if you don't have the experience, if you haven't done it, you probably know nothing about what they feel like. Once you try, or you like I said, as a fly on the wall, go to some classes and see how other people do that, you will start realizing how people feel, how it is to be on the other side. Yeah.
And I'll just add to that that includes, or maybe in particular, I feel includes people that maybe at one point did that, but it's been years now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Experienced teachers, you know, especially if you're not a native speaker of English, you might take for granted, well, I know what it's like to be in the shoes of my students. But if it's been many years,
yeah,
you've been sitting there.
Because you see, it's so easy to forget about it. And it's also, you know yourself as a teacher, it's so easy to fall into that trap where you think, oh, they already know that. Oh, we've already covered that. Yeah. And they go, and then you suddenly expect them to make a question in present simple and they struggle. Yeah.
That's right.
And it's like, oh my God, why don't they remember that? Yeah. So this is all it all stems from the fact that we don't have that experience from the other side. Yeah. And it's important to have it.
That's right. Empathy at the very base level.
Absolutely. That's, I couldn't say it better. Yeah.
I'm just so excited that so many people came live. So thank you very much. We really appreciate this great turnout, this group that came here today. We have these Featured Teachers webinars each month. It's a monthly series. I also come in and do a webinar. So it's 2 a month. One that's me and one with another teacher that I recruit and bring here. Thank you so much, man. That was just fantastic. I'm so glad we met. I told you, I have a strong feeling we're going to be.
Likewise. It's like, And also things we didn't mention that another thing that we share is music. Because I used to be a musician and it's all there. It's all there.
You didn't used to be. You were always. I'm sure.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't. People catch when I say I used to be a DJ. No, you're still a DJ. You know? Whether you're out there, DJing a party or out there actually doing a gig as a musician, you're still. We got that. Sing together. We will, I think. Yeah. Thanks a million. What a great session. Thanks so much to all of you. Thanks to American TESOL Institute for this great Featured Teacher webinar series that they make possible. And thank you to Prep It Fluency. Have a great evening, everyone. Morning, afternoon, wherever you are. And thanks for your support. And happy holidays. We'll see you again in the new year. So,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.